It's the Matt Sager Podcast, Friday, November 9th. Going to be a short one tonight, but we have something very, very serious to discuss. This is no laughing matter. Ice-T related news. The hip-hop artist slash actor, not the drink, lest you be under any other kind of misconception. Serious business regarding the artist, whose birth name is Tracy Morrow Jr. He set the internet alight today. Struck an absolute fire. Sent a tweet designed to provoke controversy, and provoke controversy it has. Ice-T, whose username on Twitter is @finallevel, one word, obviously, made an announcement that I'm still taking it all in, frankly. It is shocking. White people, ellipses, ... Don't know why this has to be racial, but okay, keep going. Don't lose your effing minds, because I've never had a bagel. What? Okay. This is a major superstar across multiple mediums and spanning several decades. I've been a fan of Ice-T's music. I'm trying to think when 6 in the Morning came out and I heard it. I'm going to say 85. By 87, 88, he had that great album, Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say, that really, not that he wasn't already a major star, but that was when he crossed over and the PMRC put him in their spotlights. Really tried to censor him, and in so doing, like idiot wives of congressmen and senators are prone to do, they go after someone for stupid reasons having to do with their own sexual and violence hang-ups. I mean, it wasn't like they just dragged in Ice-T. They were also grilling, let's see, my friend Dee Snider, Frank Zappa, and of course, the notorious villain of the airwaves, the nasty, mean John Denver, were all targets of the PMRC, Parents Music Research Group, which, it's worth pointing out, I mean, look, the guy's off the political landscape. Yes, he would have been a better president in 2000, but Al Gore and his wife Tipper, his then-wife, who apparently had no idea of his extramarital pursuits with masseuses and pretty much any other woman who would allow him within 100 feet of her. She was blissfully unaware, and yet she was obsessed with the sexual nature of music like, I remember Dee Snider in particular, because I remember him telling me he was going to vote for Gore. And I said, really? Didn't Al Gore say to you? He said, yep, Al Gore stopped me in the hallway and said, if you ever say anything about my wife, I will have you killed. But I'm still going to vote for him, because that's how much literacy matters to me in my presidential candidates. Man, those were the good old days. Can you believe it? But Ice-T had none of it. He made the entire spectacle the subject of an album that propelled him to superstardom. And at around the same time, either just before or just after or concurrently, he starred in Colors alongside Dennis Hopper. That couldn't have been later than 89. And ever since, he was a major star in New Jack City, and he's been on Law & Order Special Victims Unit for 18 years. So that is a lot of time spent in craft services. To say nothing of a lot of time spent in airports, a lot of time on one of the big coastal cities, Los Angeles or New York, and he's never had a bagel. But wait, that's nothing. I actually am okay with the entire bagel thing. Because for one thing, it's not as if his name has anything to do with bread, okay? So, look, never had a bagel. It's odd, but whatever. Sure, it's extra odd that you would sort of go out of your way to draw attention to it on Twitter, but again, que sera, sera. But now that he's stoked some controversy, the replies and the horror emojis are starting to roll in. He's got Twitter alight. He then drops an A-bomb. I've never drank a cup of coffee either. Go crazy. All right, I'll go crazy. Challenge accepted, sir. If you are going to name yourself after a caffeinated beverage, and you're going to spend something like 70% of your waking life adjacent to craft services, how in the hell do you avoid coffee? I'm literally asking you this seriously because I have one singular addiction. I kicked smoking in 1998, I'm very proud to say. And at the time, people told me, I used the patch. That helped, and having a sort of sponsor of sorts helped too. I had a friend who I'd call and say, listen, man, I'm going to have a cigarette. I need one so bad. And he'd go, yeah, great, good idea, idiot. Have a cigarette. So then we can start this process all over again. We'll get you back on the patch. You can go into the Nick fits, get withdrawals. And yeah, this is great. Let's just keep stopping and starting and stopping and starting, jackass. It was the best kind of tough love, and it got me through it. But to date, nothing, including caffeine bars, tea, or even caffeine pills, which I tried and then thought, not only aren't these working, but they're probably pretty dangerous. So nothing has successfully weaned me off of coffee. And I guess the real way to avoid a coffee addiction is to be like Ice-T. He's got power, as one of his albums proudly proclaims. I believe that's the title of his second album, Power. He's an OG, original gangster, and yet in none of that time did he drink coffee. Oh, and of course what really set off the grammar police, which is ridiculous given the number of misspellings and outrageous use of capitalizations. Twitter is not known for its excellent use of grammar, spelling, punctuation, or anything to do with the English language and its proper use. And yet, in his original tweet, in which he said, "I've never eaten a bagel," he spelled it like beagle, except without the E. So he put the E after the L instead of before it, and people freaked out, first saying that they'd seen him on Law & Order eating a bagel, specifically a cinnamon raisin bagel, and they pointed to the episode. And thankfully, journalism has been all over this very serious story today. They went through the video, and although he is seated with a bagel in front of him, at times holds it, at no point does the camera capture him biting into the bagel. And why is that, you ask? Well, let's go to another tweet from Ice-T. Responding to a Kimberly, KimSue1266, who says, "You had a cinnamon raisin one on SVU." Ice-T glibly points out, "LOL, TV is make-believe." Make-believe? This is bagels we're discussing here. And more importantly, we're also talking about coffee. This guy spends about half his working life around Richard Belzer. Are you telling me he doesn't have bagels and coffee in front of him all the time and he has somehow abstained? If he's not on some kind of bread abstinence diet, which is very possible, quite common among actors and showbiz types, something I am working on, cutting out all breads and stuff. It's harder than you'd think. But have I ever had a bagel? I mean, come on. I know that you've had a rough life, Ice. We've had a couple of very brief conversations. I've certainly read a lot about your life. And I know that although your adult life has been spectacular, you've been through some stuff. I mean, even if we just count the part where you were in the military for a while, you've seen stuff. And yet, in the boardrooms of record labels, back when there were such a thing as record labels, in the many, many films and TV series you participated in, where craft services is where everyone goes in between scenes, where actors spend half their days usually. Not one bagel. What do you think, people? Is this legit? And if so, is it even societally acceptable? Does Ice-T need to be fed a bagel so that he can understand the common man? I am inclined to say yes, because I always thought of Ice-T as someone who really knew the world and all of its intricacies and delicacies, and who knew the meaning of the word struggle. And believe me, Ice-T does know what struggling is. But I always thought he could relate to my personal struggles, and my struggles involve coffee. My ongoing struggle to cut out bagels and other breads continues. He doesn't know what it means to fight yourself every morning at breakfast to not have a bagel. And he certainly can't relate to what it's like waking up at 3 a.m. with a screaming migraine and with a brain that is demanding you make a cup of coffee, even as your body begs you to go back to sleep. Meanwhile, your brain and your lack of willpower is just dogging you, hounding you. Make a cup of coffee. Make a cup of coffee. Make a cup of coffee. Ice, you do not know what it's like. It is horrific being addicted to caffeine. And your name is Ice-T. How can you not know this? No, but kidding aside, in all seriousness, kudos. Both for your healthy life choices, the ability to stay away from bagels and breads and things like that, and even more impressively, the ability to stay off coffee. That is something that really astonishes me, and I applaud you. You're setting an excellent example. Unfortunately, you got me too late. I'm a lost cause. But for the rest, you're setting an excellent example, and I commend you. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I would love for you to get in touch with the Matt Sager podcast any way you like. You could email matt@mattsager.com, call 646-535-4788 and leave me a voicemail. Hit me up on social media, too, while you're at it. On Twitter, I'm @MattSager, Instagram, Real Matt Sager, and on Facebook, I'm The Matt Sager. My voiceover page there is Matt Sager VO, and this podcast page is Matt Sager Podcast. I've also got a Patreon. I'd love you to check it out. I've got some awards already available, but I'd be very interested in hearing your suggestions for more. Also, check out my merch. I'd love you to buy some, and I also love your recommendations for even more merch. That's right, I'm expanding my brand in a very big way. And for even more of those social media links, my voiceover reels, contact info, more archived back episodes of this podcast, articles, blog posts, and much more, head on over to my website, mattsagervoiceover.com.